I still laugh at Rebecca. Like, and we know LeBron James is a Liverpool fan. Like, thanks.
Oh,
No, he supports Tottenham. What? Come on.
Yemi Bakayoko, oh yo, Samina Mina, Edward Mende, Samina Mina Sam Sadate. He comes from Senegal.
And I think going out and get Saul was the top transfer of the market for Chelsea.
Chesney could have been in the shower smoking a cigarette like he was at Arsenal, and we still would not have scored.
My rants have been fueled by Scott. Don't get it twisted.
Big Rom. Man, fuck you.
In Roman we trust, right?
You and me are going to have a battle royale about Jorginho and diving.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Here you got me, Andy. We've also got Parker and Matt. No fancy introductions today because, boys, we are Premier League Summer Series champions of 2023. It's good to have some silverware. Pochettino starting off right. Never lost. But in all that celebration, how are we doing this weekend, boys?
I would be careful with how you say that with Pochettino, just because if I remember right, Graham Potter didn't lose a lot of his first matches, and I don't want to go down that that rabbit hole again. So don't use that as our barometer for success, please. But every time you bring up LeVar Ball quotes, it just doesn't end up well for us. That aside, I'm great. It's been a nice weekend, man. I'm happy that I got to be home with internet in my house and just kind of like in normal routine land, and that was great. I enjoy watching F1 in the morning on Sundays, and then it was just kind of a bonus that we got Chelsea content at 12:45 my time, which it's an interesting time for a football match, but I'll take it, man. So it's been a great day. Fired up the grill tonight. We grilled out salmon burgers, which turned out really, really well, and just trying to get creative in the kitchen and do as much as I can there. So life's good, man. Matthew, I heard it was a boys' day at the house a little bit today, yeah?
Yeah, all weekend. So me and my son, we got to hang out. My wife was working this weekend, so just boys in the morning and in the afternoon, and then a nice little here you go as soon as my wife got home. But no, everything was good. Park, similar day to you, up early watching F1, got the Chelsea game, and then same thing, fired up the grill, made some Asiago stuffed chicken breasts, and it's quite good. But yeah, all in all, good weekend, and yeah, couldn't ask for much more. And we had beautiful weather here, so that was a plus. Collins, what about you, my good man?
No, it was good. It was a nice weekend. I went to German Fest yesterday, where my son became a trader and bought a Thomas Muller jersey. A Germany jersey, not a Bayern jersey, but so I had to explain to him how we beat Thomas Muller in the 2012 Champions League final. Went and saw Ford Madison last night, which was great as always. The flock was rocking. And then today it was mirroring you guys. It was Formula One. It was Chelsea in the middle of the day, and it was getting a run in. So it was very, very relaxing, very, very fun weekend. So, and again, coming home with some silverware leads to just a happy rest of the day, right?
Out of curiosity, you didn't run by any elementary schools, did you?
I'm not allowed to.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure with that mustache.
You're the second person this weekend to make that joke to me, so thank you.
Oh, you earned it. Don't worry.
All right. Well, boys, as I teased not so subtly earlier, we are Premier League Summer Series champions. Pochettino coming home with his first trophy for Chelsea. And I know it's preseason. And I know, Matt, I'm gonna put an explosion over this word, but it was vibes. It was vibes today. It's been vibes all week. It's been great. It's been a fun preseason, especially when you look back to last preseason, where the boys looked out of fitness and the boys looked like they didn't care, and we were playing players who were being auditioned for other teams. This was a fun preseason tournament. So with this wrapping up, and with this being the first of its kind for the Premier League, Parker, you and I talked a little bit about this pre-pod. Where do you think this? I don't know if you'll call it a tournament. Where do you think this event goes going forward? Is this something that we can expect, going forward every year now?
I take it with a grain of salt, like the whole thing. You're trying out a lot of your new signings, trying to get people up to fitness, trying out a lot of the youth players. It's an exhibition where the Premier League comes to the US and they threw a trophy on it. Yeah, we won a trophy. Cool. I doesn't really mean much, and you can tell by looking at Reece James's expression as he was, pulling his best Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands / this trophy. He's just like, cool. There wasn't really a lot of excitement or anything. That being said, it's an inaugural tournament. I get it, but again, it's just okay. You won. You were the best team out of 6 in the Premier League. It's like choosing what preseason tournament you want to be in FIFA, right? Do you want the one that pays out the most money and goes up against bigger teams, or do you want just one to get people a trot out? The competition's good, right? Like, it's still Premier League. Newcastle put out solid sides. So did Brighton. So it's good competition. It's kind of a good test early on in the season, but yeah, it's strictly for fitness. I enjoyed it. I watched some more games besides the Chelsea games, just because I'll pretty much watch anything footy related at this point. Even before this, I was watching the Man U Dortmund game that's going on now. So, but no, it's cool. Ideally, I'd like to get to one of the games if possible. If they do end up coming back, subsequent seasons and things like that. I think it's a fun experience for the fans and the players. But all in all, I think it's just kind of more of a big publicity thing than anything else for like the network and the fans. But for the players, it's a chance to get fit and see where they fit in the squad. But a trophy's a trophy. We'll take it. I don't know how much I take out of this going into the season, though. That's kind of the overarching, my overarching opinion on it.
Interesting, Matt, because I feel like I learned more about the team with, especially our team. Like, maybe Brighton didn't learn as much about their team, but I feel like a team with us with so many question marks and so many new faces. And I watched both this last match and the Newcastle match with my wife, and she's like, "Who's that? Who's that? I've never heard of this person before. Who's that? Who's that?" And there's some players that I didn't like. I was like, "Who's that? Who the fuck is that guy?" Right? Like, even to you guys, it's just so for me, it answered more questions, than I had. So I'm thankful for it, and I'm having seen a variety of preseason tournaments in the past, both domestically and over in China and a couple other places that Chelsea's gone. This seemed to be the most well-run. It seemed to be the most cohesive. Seemed to be, the fact that it's just Premier League teams helps. I think the past where Chelsea's played Juve and Inter and other kind of random assortments of players that felt more exhibition-y, and it felt more just like a quick trot out. And the one thing I thought could have been a lot better, Collins, we were talking about this again, is just like the attendance was bad in DC, and I have to believe that was due to ticket prices being what they were. I think in the US you have to have some reasonable expectations when you have 80,000 seats in an NFL stadium, and you have to sell them for a preseason friendly. And let's call it what it is. It's a preseason friendly. This isn't F1 that comes to the United States and holds one of their 22, 24, I can't remember how many races they have. They hold one of, or three technically now, races in the United States. Those are big draws because those are part of their regular season. If Chelsea was playing Arsenal at Soldier Field for the Premier League, it'd be sold out. Like everyone stateside would come to that. That's a Chelsea fan, or whatever. Like it's preseason friendly, so they can get that better. I'm happy with the tournament. I hope that it kind of continues to, I don't even know if it needs to grow, but I hope it continues to gain traction and they can refine it a little bit. I think when you focus on less travel, more cohesiveness, player first, and treat it for what it is. And it's a player development tool. It's a player evaluation tool. It's a chance for our new manager to get a few real runs in and see who he's got at his disposal, what some of the players are made of, make more subs than you could ever make in a normal game. Those types of things. I was great for all of that. And happy to win. It means nothing, but happy to win, happy to have not lost, even despite my initial comments, Collins. Still happy that we didn't lose. And it's great. We played a Fulham side that gave us some trouble last year, and to come out of a relatively ugly kind of game, winning 2-0, and I didn't feel great about how we played. Like there were many times where I thought we played okay and got smashed last year. So we're taking steps in the right direction. That's good to see.
Yeah, and Parker, I'm more with you than with Matt on this one. Shocker, I know. Now, Matt, I agree with you. I'm not saying that winning the Premier League Summer Series is better than winning the Club World Cup or winning the FA Cup, or But at the end of the day, a trophy's a trophy, as meaningless as it is, right? It's something that you can build from there. Had we come stateside and drawn all of these matches, there would have been not only amongst the fans, but as well probably amongst the players, a little bit of like, oh, here we go again, going into the year. A little bit of doubt creeping in the locker room going into the season. So to be able to come home with a trophy, or they kept saying go home, but they won more game in Chicago. So to go to Chicago and then back to London with a trophy, I think is a good start to the season. And I think Parker, like you said, we learned a lot about this team. We learned that Nico Jackson is going to be a problem. And that's something that we haven't had out of a striker in a long time. God, do not give him the number 9. Do not, please. But we also learned that Christian Nkunku seems to be what we paid, valued exactly what we paid for him, right? He's going to be a guy who's going to contribute. But we've also learned some things about some other players. Maybe Cucurella isn't ready for that rebound season. Bashir Humphreys, it's been going back and forth. Should he join the squad? Should he not? I don't think he missed a beat in this preseason tournament. Maybe he's a shot to make the squad. Maybe that's why we're looking at selling Trev, even though we bought another defender. Mason Burstow, who played up top for us today. It's been long said that he's got all the talent in the world, but I think we found out he's still a little raw. Maybe he needs another loan. And same with Cesare Cassette. Maybe he needs another loan. So I like that we got to learn a little bit more about this very young team, which is now statistically the youngest team in the Premier League, if you look at our roster today. And so I think that's invaluable experience. And if you look at not only this preseason in a vacuum, but if you look outside of it, you look at past preseasons, and I'm going to keep going back to last preseason because it was such a stark difference The work rate was up. These guys were pressing. We were pressing the keeper every single match. The fitness, God, we were running circles around Fulham when our best team was in there today. And then you look at some of the pregame, postgame interviews, and these guys are talking about, you know, being so happy. They're talking about their friends on the team, and we didn't see any of that last year, right? So I think, I'm going to say it again, there are good vibes going into the season. And I would like to point this out. There were 6 teams in this tournament. 5 of them finished above us last year. Again, it's preseason. Yeah, I understand that. But over the sample size of 5 matches or 4, however many matches we played, 4 matches, you know, we came away with wins in all of them except 1. So that is a little bit larger of a sample size. Seemingly we have some depth. We have some goal scorers. You know, there should be an improvement year over year for this team.
I do have one question, just because you said it and made me think of something. So you were saying, had we, you know, drawn every single match during this, do you think that we exceeded expectations during this tournament?
That I think is relative. If you look at how we finished last year and just the mental state of the team, and, you know, the guys getting injured left and right and no one's really running ever. Yes, compared to last season, we exceeded expectations. Now, we've said it a million times on the pod, this is Chelsea, right? We are expected to win. So in the grand scheme of Chelsea, no, this is the expectation. We met the expectation.
They exceeded my expectations. That team, that young, yes, it's Chelsea, but it's a brand new team with a brand new manager and so many moving parts that I expected more mistakes, more mess ups, less cohesiveness, less fluidity in the style of play. They exceeded my expectations from all of those factors. That team looked like they had played together for a half a season to a season, when most of them are new folks, and even our staples are younger guys who haven't been there all that long. I mean, I joked with you guys that, you know, Reece James is the savvy vet out there when Silva isn't, and he's 23 years old. It feels like Reece James has been out there for 6 years, and he may have been at this point. I don't know. I can't keep track, but Reece James has been out there a while. You know, he's put on some muscle. He's all tatted up. Like, he looks like a man out there where we've seen him play, and he looked, you know, a little bit scrawnier, a little bit leaner. He looks like a big boy now, and he looks like a captain, right? He looks like that guy. He's still only 23 years old, which is insane to me.
Yeah, I would agree. To me, they exceeded expectations. I didn't go in with very high expectations. Like, all right, let's just see what everybody can do. You know, we signed all this youth. Are they any good? I didn't know half the people. Actually, let me take that back. I didn't know 90% of the people that we signed. I have no idea what to expect of them. So for that, yes, they exceeded expectations.
Come on, Matt, you just got to search our text thread. I can give you an update every time we sign these guys. Come on.
You give me stats on some people, and that doesn't mean dick.
The Collins dossier is great, but it does not help us know how a player is going to come in and be with the team.
Yeah. I don't really, their XG in Brazil doesn't really mean squat to me when you translate it to the Premier League. So I appreciate all the information all the time. I really do. You might as well just not say anything, and it's going to give me the same answer. I have no idea. But I appreciate your efforts.
All right. Well, Parker, do you want to lead us into the next topic that you posted in the group chat today?
Sure. So I'm mostly curious how you guys think of some of the players that we saw, and there's kind of a range of outcomes with some of these Some of them might be starters, some of them might be prominent subs, some might be not, used very frequently at all, but they kind of are on the roster still, and some might either be loaned or play down or whatever. And so I'm just going to kind of go through somewhat rapid style, give you names, and I want to hear what you guys think about, like what's their impact going to be this year, and kind of how do you see them fitting into the team. So first name is Malo Gusto.
Gonna challenge Reece James. Not Matt, I saw those eyes. Not take that spot, but allow Reece James to potentially play in some other positions, which I know we've talked about, not on this pod, but in our group chat. Just open up our creativity a little bit.
He's going to be a good backup to Reece James. He's going to give Reece some time off. Not playing those like important matches, maybe some lower level Premier League. Definitely, I see him more of a cup, probably, early stages of the cup and things like that. But I don't see him necessarily challenging for Reece's spot, but I see him as a very suitable backup for Reece.
See, his defending impressed me, and I was happy to see what we had in him. And it will be very interesting if we don't sign a midfielder in this transfer window, because Reece playing there, or Reece playing like a defensive mid next to Enzo, or playing on like the right wing could be a possibility. But right now, I think he's like we'll see him featured 5 to 7 times kind of guy. Not a ton. I want it to be more, but I just don't think we're going to see a ton out of him this year, because James is still injuries aside, right? But because James still owns that spot, and I don't think I think we'll have enough options elsewhere.
I'm booking this little snippet here. These aren't
even my hot takes yet.
Oh,
commenting about a new signing's playing time isn't hot yet. Ian Maatsen.
RLC.
I wanted to say this in the group chat, but my kid was sleeping on me. So if he's the new RLC, means he's going to be 26 and not live up to the hype, and we're going to sell him. Is that what you mean by RLC?
Maatsen did not have the hype that RLC had coming up through the developmental program. Maatsen is very much a squad player, and that was kind of the expectation of him. And so if he comes up and he is that squad player where he plays a little bit of left wing, a little bit of central mid, a little bit of left back, I think that's a successful Chelsea spell for him.
So that aside, obviously, just wanted to make a joke on that. But I don't see him playing that much this year. I don't, especially on that left side. I really don't. If you look at our left back situation, right, we've got 4 of them. Technically, one of them is already kind of a midfielder by trade. I think Lewis Hall is a left mid by trade. Then you have Chilwell, Cucurella. And then the midfield, who stays, who goes, right? I'm sure that's what we're going to be hitting on, probably pretty heavy throughout this topic. And then, if you try to put him up front, whose spot does he take, right? So I want to see him succeed. I just don't think, I think he's not specialized enough in one place to make an impact at that one place, right? He kind of, like you said, the RLC problem. You can slot him in wherever, but he does a lot of things good, doesn't really do anything great. So I think that's going to be harder to try and find time for him throughout the season.
I've been a massive RLC fan I'm literally wearing his jersey from I don't remember what year this was, 14, 15. I've been an RLC fan for a minute. RLC was prominent because we had so many injuries. So I hope Ian Mattson isn't in that department where we have to rely on him for a lot of games, because that means we have a lot of injuries. I'm more with Matt on this one. I hope good things, and I saw really good things from him this preseason, and I think he's close. But it's going to be a tough squad to break into. And I said this last week too. When you're playing every week, once a week, every week, I'm foreseeing that most of our guys are going to play most matches. Like our starting 11 isn't going to vary too much from week to week to week. And it's going to be a tough squad to break into from that perspective. So I don't think he's going to play a whole ton. But I think he makes the squad. I don't think he gets loaned out. And I think he's a guy that can pop up in random situations for random reasons, injury, rest. I think back to games where we talked about flexibility in our squad, where if a center back went down, then Reese could shift over and then kind of move some pieces around. And Ian Mattson's good for those things, in those situations where he can come in and play, knowing that if someone else gets subbed out, then he kind of cover bases. So he fits that role for me. But yeah, again, not a ton of time, I don't think. Next, Andre Santos.
This one depends on if Moises Caicedo ends up coming over.
Let's say he doesn't.
If he doesn't, start him next to Enzo. That partnership looked fantastic all preseason. And you could see as soon as Pochettino would sub up, because that would be the pairing, Santos and Enzo, and then he would switch to Gallagher and Cachete. All of a sudden we would start losing the midfield. You can't run the double pivot with those two. Santos and Enzo is your A1 pairing in the midfield.
I don't think he plays a lot. I think he makes the squad. I just don't think that he plays a lot. Again, I could see him kind of in like that Malo Gusto type thing. He'd be a good probably 4 option in the mid, but I don't see it 4, maybe 3. It depends on who stays, who goes. So I could see him. I think he's still a little bit raw. I'm not sure. I know it's been a good preseason for him. I'm just not sure how that's going to fully translate Premier League week in, week out. He's still young. He's what, 18? 19. So he's still young. We've locked him down for what, a 20-year contract or whatever we're dealing out these days. So I like what I see out of him. Again, I just don't see him getting a ton of time. I could see him out there. I just don't see a ton of time for him this season.
If we don't sign Caicedo, I think he plays a lot. What I'm really intrigued about is how Enzo's game kind of changes, because I know we talked a lot about Enzo's game wanting to go a little bit more forward. The thing that impressed me most about Santos, especially today, he seemed incredibly calm out there. And Robbie was talking about this on the commentary, and I appreciated him shouting this out, but he's fine with letting other players kind of go up around him. He doesn't really care about, the situation, except for, are my guys being protected? And he had this like almost borderline didn't care at all sort of attitude about him. He just kind of floated and was in the space that he should have been. And he impressed me a lot today. I think it could be a great pairing. I don't know it's going to be a great pairing yet today, but I think it could be a great pairing. I'm leaning more towards you, Collins, but I'm still a little bit reserved in how I call it yet, just because it's not been battle tested yet, over 90. And I don't think Enzo's played his best. He didn't have his best game today for a couple of reasons, but it'll be interesting to see how those two work off, because I think Enzo is one of our staples. And it's going to be which midfield partner brings the most out of Enzo and fits best with Enzo. That's this question we're trying to solve for. We're not looking to replace Enzo. So
I might be spoiling future players you're going to list off here, but Matt, you had mentioned him as 4.
Yeah.
And Parker,
So,
you mentioned
yeah.
him as a possible. So who are you guys starting over him?
Let me clarify that. So when I say that, I'm saying in terms of who's going to be playing where on the pitch, right? You had just brought up the idea of Reese playing like a right mid or something of that nature. If Malo Gusto's like, who's going to be playing where, right? So that's why I'm saying, I'm not saying just specific midfielder by trade. I'm saying if you were to slot different people in, so on and so forth, I could see other options that would suit better than him starting right away. So that's where I'm saying probably like 3rd or 4th, I would say. So that's where I'm going with that.
players I would consider there, not necessarily above him, but Chukwuemeka, Cesare Casete, and potentially like a Reece James. But I think he's better than Chukwuemeka there, so I would put him ahead of them there. And then Casete, I saw great things from in certain matches, and then not so great things. And he wasn't one of the players I was going to bring up. Maybe we can touch on him if you want, but like he might be one that doesn't make the squad, just because I know Poch wants to trim the squad, and he might get the axe along with like a Conor Gallagher. So, but Conor Gallagher right now impressed me a lot in the preseason matches I've seen him, with the exception of today. He didn't have his best game today, but like Conor Gallagher surprised me a lot with his maturity on the pitch. I could see him playing there.
Well, do we want to tackle Conor Gallagher next then?
Go ahead.
I think Conor Gallagher is your first guy off the bench. I think he's, you look at Baseball Reference drink. I know you guys aren't really drinking, but you look at a starting pitcher who has like, he's got a chooch, right? But maybe the accuracy isn't there. Like he has to kind of limit himself a little bit so that he can last 5, 6, 7 innings. But then you slot him in as a reliever because maybe he's not working out as a starter. And he comes in, and then he's that closer who can give 100% all the time, 105 miles an hour. That's Conor Gallagher. He's gonna bust his ass for the time that you need it. But I can't see him over the course of a 38 game season lasting, like giving the effort that he shows. And it's not a knock against him. It's just a human physiology thing. Like I don't know, I just don't see how he can do it. So if you bring him in, at either halftime or 60th minute, something like that consistently, maybe he still gets his 30, 35 games, but he's going to bust his ass for that last 30 minutes and he's going to wreak havoc. He's going to cause problems.
Go ahead.
I think he might be gone, despite what I think. I think he might be leaving. I think there's place and room for him in this team. I like what you said, a lot of it, Collins. He's surprised me a lot this tournament. I thought he was all energy, no finesse last year. And you can see, again, in a young squad, that his kind of leadership and his experience in the Premier League stands out to me. It seems like he's been there before. He knows where to be and what to do, more so than the players around him. And so I think people look to him as more of a leader on the pitch. So I got a lot of time for guys like that. I got a lot of time for hustle guys. I'm just afraid that he's not going to make the squad.
He would be my number one with Enzo, mainly because of what I saw out of him this preseason. I think last season, he didn't know where he was supposed to be, because he didn't know if he was supposed to be the pivot. He didn't know if he was supposed to be N'Golo Kante-esque and just trying to disrupt everything. He had no idea where he needed to be because I don't think he got any direction on where he needed to be. I saw out of this preseason a much more composed Conor Gallagher, not making, those rash challenges that would get him a red card early in the first half. I didn't see any of that. I still saw the work rate. I liked what I saw, and Parker, you said it perfectly, a maturity to his game. I think we're seeing kind of the version of him that popped up at Palace during his loan. And I like that version of him. And I think we saw more of that. And, the point about him kind of being a leader for this young crop of midfielders that we have coming in, right? He's not that old either, but he's considered, a veteran because he has been in the Premier League for a few years. He does know Chelsea. He's been with the team, things like that. So I think he's taking that role, or at least so far this preseason, he's kind of taken that role to heart. And he's definitely shown it on the pitch.
Here's an interesting one for you guys. Raheem Sterling. What do you think happens with Raz this year?
I would love for him to start learning Arabic, but I think he's one of the, Koulibaly we invested a lot in, and that didn't work out. And Cucurella we've invested a lot in. He seems to be staying. I think Raheem Sterling is also going to be staying. There's all those Premier League rules about homegrown players and English players and all that. So Sterling kind of gives you the double whammy there, and you've invested so much in him. I think the club needs to see what a second season looks like. But I could see something very similar to last year where, picks up a little nagging injury and then we use that as an excuse to not play him.
Yeah. His spot isn't guaranteed. That's pretty much the only way to put it. He's got to earn his spot. We have a new crop of players coming in, and they have shown that they're here, they're ready to play, and they can play. So I think Raz really has to show that he's up for the challenge. He has to prove that it's his spot to lose. Otherwise, he's going to be finding himself in a very Hakim Ziyech-esque situation, constantly on the team sheet, but never really out there.
Yeah, thin ice. That's what kind of came to. He'll still get trots. He'll still get opportunities to start and play. But I think if it doesn't go well the first 4 or 5 times that it happens, I think we search for options outside of him. We've got a deep enough squad, and we've got a good enough squad, players that can play at different positions. So, I mean, to go back at something I said, like having an Ian Maatsen on the team allows you right winger. He played at right winger for one of the matches. Having him there instead of Raz, I could see it. I could see that for a stint in time if Raz isn't up to snuff or if he's not performing. I think he still gets regular trot outs though, until someone else comes in and sort of outperforms him on a consistent basis. But if he's on the 11 against Liverpool, he would be the first one that probably would get shot if we're looking to make changes. And I don't want to belabor this topic, so we'll do one more, I think. Mikhail Mudryk, someone we didn't see today, someone who's got what seems to be unlimited potential with somewhat varied results. Curious, what do you think his impact is going to be?
I think we're going to see a rotation on that left wing, and it's going to be matchup dependent. We've seen there are certain clubs where they're going to press us for most of the game, and in that case, you need that quick outlet. So I think Pochettino's a smart guy. I think he's going to play the matchups. Mudryk isn't going to be a guaranteed starter to start. But if he performs well in the first half of the season, he might lock down that spot.
I see him. I see him being a key part of the team, and not because he's insanely fast, but his commitment to the team. He was doing dual with Ukraine for a little bit, then he went down to the U21s. It would be more beneficial to him. It looks like he's been in the gym because he put on some size. So
follow him on Instagram. He's always in the gym.
He's not fucking around. And I'm excited to see that. So I think that right there, Pochettino wants guys that want to play for the club. He's shown that he's ready to do what he needs to do. So I think he's going to be, I think he would be your 12 or 13 when you're making an 11-man roster. I think he's got a shot to crack it almost every single week. Matchups, yeah. He could come on 70th, 75th minute against some tired defensive legs, change it that way, very possible. But I think we're going to see a different version of him than what we saw last year. And I think he is definitely going to have a big impact this season.
So Mudrik's a player I'm so ready to get on board with, so ready to buy into the hype and so ready to see this explosion of talent. Cause I feel like if and when it happens, it's going to happen in a big way. He could put up some, and I'm not saying go across the season, but over a 5-game stretch, he could put up Holland numbers and have, 2 a game kind of things, or 2 and an assist a game. He could put up some video game numbers in stretches, it seems like. And that makes me nervous as a fan, because I'm trying not to get my hopes too high on him. The one thing I've seen out of him, and I don't know if you've caught this too or picked up on this, Collins, but there are parts in the games where he just kind of isn't a part for what seems to be 5 and then 10 and then 12 and then 15, and then he gets a touch, and then it's a bit after that where he's impactful in these very small pockets. And when he's impactful, he's taking people on, he's going out, he's getting a release and just going, he's blowing by people, but we don't know how to use him yet fully either. And so the thing that scares me is that he's disappeared from matches, and I can't hear his name, or I haven't heard his name, or I haven't seen him on the pitch or do anything for what seems to be a good chunk of the game. That scares me. I gravitate as a fan towards players who pop up in space and make it happen. And we saw a little bit of that with him last year when he went more central, and they kind of wove their attack through and just switched things up a little bit more. But I like when guys are magnets to the ball. They're commanding, they're on it, and things go through them, and they, it's understanding with their teammates, all those things, right? For him, it seems like he's on an island sometimes, and I hope he's engaged in the match where when he gets his opportunity, then he can take it, because it's hard to come in cold when you haven't touched the ball in 20 minutes, and then you have 3 dribbles and a shot. It's hard to do. No,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my worry. But I've got super high hopes for him. I just at some point we got to see it. We got to see the investment start to pay dividends, and we'll see what his numbers do, because he's in a position that's going to be judged on his numbers. It's goals and assists from that spot. So we'll see what his numbers do. And I hope to God that it pays, because you can see it. Everyone can see it. Everyone can feel it. It just has to happen now.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I've noticed the same thing, where he just goes through stretches where you don't even know he's on the pitch. And we saw the same out of Pulisic a little bit last year too, right? And I think there's a change. Matt touched on it a little bit, where guys didn't necessarily know where they were supposed to be. And in fact, you and I think, talked about it one pod where him and Chilwell just couldn't figure out who was going forward, who was staying in the mid, who was going back.
And Cucurella couldn't find them either, and that stretch of matches either too, right?
So I think this year switching to the 4-3-3, you're still going to have Chilwell going forward, but now you have center backs who are being told, and we heard this during one of the water breaks from Pochettino, center backs are playing the ball over the top, not the midfielder. We don't want the midfield going long. The center backs will do it. And Levi Colwill can do that easily, right? So I think you're going to see an improvement out of him. But I do have one other player. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep, I didn't mean to keep this one going, but I got one other player that I'm curious. He's a favorite of the pod, but sometimes I think we view him through rose-tinted glasses, and that's Lewis Hall. What do you see Lewis Hall's impact this season?
For me, I have a hard time seeing him being a big impact on the squad. He's a tough one to assess, just because you wonder if, we may have talked about this before, you wonder if a loan spell would be better for him or not. And you hope that he can continue to develop. He's exciting to watch. I mean, when I watched him on the ball today, and then he put that ball into Nick Jackson, I saw him see that run, and like I could feel exactly what he was doing, and he did exactly. I mean, he didn't miss. That ball was pin perfect. I mean, it was amazing. And Jackson almost got around on it, right? And it's just, you see things like that out of a kid, and you're just like, man, I want to see him through and through. I wish he played over Cucurella, to be completely honest. I don't think that's going to happen, but I wish he would. I unfortunately think we're too deep at that spot, and similar to my Mattson comments of jack of all trades, I don't think are going to feature as much this year for us, and I think he falls into that for me. But I don't know if he should go out on loan or stay. That's a really, really tough argument. You can make points for both sides, and I don't know what the right thing for his development is going to be. I hope we have a way to play him in the future. He's a guy I want to see out there for us.
Player of the season. No, I'm just kidding. So I think right now it's 2A and 2B as far as left backs go, with Mattson and Hall. Cucurella, just go back to Brighton and take your hair with you. He just has not looked good. I know he said, yeah, I'm here to fight for my spot. He's not doing a very good job right now. He's not really helping his cause whatsoever. We've seen Lewis Hall play against Premier League teams and good Premier League teams. I think last year he played against Liverpool.
City,
yes. And he did a damn fine job. And we've seen him do that. I don't think he's really had a bad game so far with the first team. Yeah, some of them are FA Cup games. I get that, but I'm talking strictly Premier League. I haven't really seen him put a foot wrong yet. And at such a young age, it's very impressive. He has the kind of style that we want with our backs going forward. And he can put in a dangerous ball, as we've seen plenty of times. And yeah, he does fit in kind of just like a Mattson. He can play the mid. Obviously, he can play left back, wing back, whatever. It's unfortunately, I think it's going to be a call of, all right, who do you go with? One stays, one goes. I don't know who that's going to be. But right now, all signs point to, I think, Lewis Hall is probably going to be the one to go out on loan, just based on the fact that it looked like Ian Mattson had a stronger preseason. I don't know if that was enough to keep him, or if Pochettino would have made up his mind about Hall. Whatever, we can speculate all day. But just based on that, I think Mattson stays and Hall goes on loan. I don't want to see it, but I think ideally that's what's going to happen.
Well, in terms of Mattson, there's no speculation. Pochettino in the post game today said he was going to be a part of the team and he was going to contribute. But kind of echoing what you said, I think that means Lewis Hall is gone. not gone sold, but he's out on loan for the year. You know, we've seen Chelsea wonder kids ball out against good teams for years now. Billy Gilmore, Ethan Ampadu, RLC. Not to knock Lewis Hall, because I'm hoping, right? Hope is all we got. I'm hoping that he can ball out. But you look at this preseason. You know, Kukurea is getting about a half per game. Mattson is getting about a half per game. Lewis Hall got a total of 122 minutes. He's down on the pecking order. I don't know. I think it's a waste to have him, you know, be in the squad this year and, you know, just like last year, play in 9 games. What good does that do him? You know, you can only train with the first team so much without playing before it's no longer a challenge for you, or, you know, it's no longer, you know, worth it. So getting him out to, man, even a championship club, or like even Burnley under Vincent Kompany, I think would be a great move. But I foresee him going out on loan.
I'm sold after what you just said. I feel like that's probably the right move. It's a tough one. Like you said, we have rose tinted glasses. I think we all wished he could be a part of the team and contribute in a big way, because we think he can. Just probably isn't in the cards for him yet, but he's what is he, 18, 19 years old, something like that? Like,
yeah, 18.
Still super young. Still has a lot of time to be able to make that impact. And, you know, you can tell he cares a lot about Chelsea. Whether or not that influences his decision to want to stay long term, to be seen. But hopefully we still get some time with him.
Well, I do just want to talk real quick about a signing that we made today. And that is Benoit Badiashil's center back partner from Monaco, Axel Disasi. French international, played in the World Cup for France, captained Monaco last year at the age of 24. He's now 25. But he seems to fit what Pochettino is looking for. You know, he said last week he's looking for players with more experience. He's been internationally capped. He's got plenty of games for Monaco. Again, he was the captain. And he's a center back who played more successful balls into the final third in Ligue 1 than any other defender. Which, you know, you look at what we want out of Colwill. You look at even Thiago Silva's distribution over the last couple of games. You know, we want defenders who can play that ball over the top, who can get in there. And the fact that he's 6'3" and can be a menace in the box. You know, we saw today that we're going to be a lot better on set pieces, hopefully, this season. So those are the kind of things you're looking for. So Disasi should be joining the team when they get back from this US tour at the end of this upcoming week. So should be exciting to see him. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get him into the squad, though.
How much did we pay for him? Do you know?
45 million euros, but no add-ons, which is a shocker. But he's on a 5-year deal plus 1-year player option. So seemingly like every other Boli contract, he's long-term.
Yeah, I think this is a necessary signing. Just to have another center back, true center back, and not a faux center back. You know, players who can play center back. Silva's going to need more rest this year as he continues to push for 40. He'll need some time. Levi's young. Badiashil's hurt. So, you know, on that depth chart, that pecking order, I think we'll need a couple more bodies. So happy to see that come through. Feel like Chelsea's kind of dominated that $30 to $40 million range in the transfer window this year. I feel like a lot of our players have been right around that, which isn't a bad thing at all. It's good to see, and it seems like we had a lot of needs, so it didn't make sense to go out and spend $100 million on someone. You know, build your squad with more depth and go from there.
And the thing that I like most isn't even necessarily, you know, in regards to the player himself, but you know, you hear all these things from the in the know people, right? Of, oh, we're going after Olise, and we're, you know, Caicedo's in its 8th week of negotiations, and no one saw this signing coming. And then yesterday we had the signing of Leslie Ogochukwu from Rennes. He's being loaned out to Strasbourg now. But he's supposed to be what was the comp I sent you? Patrick Vieira, supposed to be the next Patrick Vieira coming out of France. And no one had any inkling about that either. So I'm not worried about this Caicedo deal getting done or not getting done. I think it's a myth what people are saying that, oh, why are we only working on one deal at a time? We clearly have a lot of things going on right now in terms of signings and scouting and all that. So I'm going to wait until the end of the transfer deadline to evaluate this window. But so far, I'm impressed with what Bully and company have done.
I think things get leaked that people want to get leaked more times than not. There's reasons why guys like Fabrizio get calls. It's because they want, attention's diverted. If you want a fun movie scene for how this happened, watch Moneyball with Brad Pitt and watch how they kind of can pit some people against each other, draw smoke over here so you're not looking over there, and pull off some deals, right? Obviously fictionalized story, but you can see how some of the inner workings happen, and yeah, they let us see what they want us to let come out.
All right, well, boys, it's everyone's favorite part of the pod here. That's our 5-a-side draft. We had a tie this week. Parker, you and I tied in our cartoon character 5-a-side. So Matt, as the loser, you get to break the tie. So you had, I already know who you chose, but let me reset it for you.
No, you guys get to choose virtual Rochambeau.
Are we saying who Matt gets to pick who won between you and I, or Matt gets to pick?
Yeah, Matt gets to pick who chooses the theme for this week.
That's what I'm saying. You two just do a virtual rock, paper, scissors right now.
On 3 or on shoot?
Shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Scissors, what do you got?
I'm throwing rock. Rock,
paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Matt,
you win. Congratulations.
Matt, that was great for podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This audio
I'll
medium.
make a decision.
Edit.
All right. So I am the winner, apparently, with last week's cartoon draft, with the Thing in goal, Hank Hill in defense, Rick Sanchez and Johnny Bravo in the mid, and Stan Smith as my forward. So this week, in honor of the U.S. tour, I'm going to go a little bit outside the box here. U.S. states. And Matt, as the loser, I'm going to keep harping on that because I love it. You get to pick first.
Oh boy, this this could turn dark real quick. I just want to point that out. I'm going to start with my defense. Give me Alabama.
Roll Tide.
I feel like that's an obvious choice.
Always packing. I like it.
Yep.
All right, Parker, where are you going with your number one pick?
Just gonna say shooter's got to shoot. So my attack is gonna be Michigan.
I like that. I thought you were going somewhere else. So I'm actually gonna steal yours.
Would it help if I go to Detroit? I mean,
okay. I see what you did there. People across the country are going to love this pod. Well, speaking of shooters going to shoot, my forward is going to be Texas.
I was torn between that and Alabama for my first pick.
All right, Matt, bring us back. Round 2.
Wow. So for my goalkeeper, I'm gonna go with Alaska.
Oh, motherfucker.
Great pick.
Taking up the whole
of
goddamn
size,
goal.
a lot of size, very isolated. I like it.
I'm taking a high energy midfielder off the table. One of the most populated areas and tourist destinations, but the city never sleeps would be New York City. So give me New York.
Man, Parker, you and me are on the same wavelength today. This is why we're the winners. Well, my midfield, it's the star boy. You know, it's the Enzo Fernandez of this squad. Got a little flair to it. Thinks outside the box a little bit, and that's gonna be California.
You took away my midfield pairing. I was going to go with the most creative midfield of all time, but that's not going to happen. Wow. All right. So I kind of want to take a specific I want to take a specific part of California for my forward, but that's not allowed. So I can't take Compton as my forward. Let's see.
The gang gets canceled.
Hey, Matt hasn't mentioned the one child policy in China yet.
No,
Yeah.
there's time. So for my midfield, Collins, I'm going to go along the same lines. Place that's a little bit creative, a little bit out there, but gets the job done. I'll take Florida.
Creative's one way of saying it.
I don't want to get canceled.
It's true. I'm taking a defender. And I'm going to steal Collins. I'm going to steal your wavelength once more. What's the one thing you say if your defense is kind of like your offensive lineman and they're doing their job and you don't really talk about them? What state produces the best offensive lineman? Going with Iowa.
Love that. All right. We'll go to keeper here. And it's America's first line of defense. You know, they can take some shots, as we saw December 7th. But Hawaii, protector of the Pacific.
Shout out to Oppenheimer. The joke wrote itself. Come on. All right. Boy, where do I want to go? For my forward, a very underrated shooter. But again, very clinical, gets the job done. I'll take Missouri.
I believe you mean Missouri.
Same difference.
I'm realizing that this draft for me is horrible, but I'm too bought in for it. So unless you can type up all my logic, Collins, in the poll, then I'm not going to get any votes. Because so I've got my high energy, right? I've got my New York City net never sleeps. So I need stability and a little bit of calm. So I'm going Utah.
Fundamentally sound. We'll call it that.
Can you write fundamentally sound Utah?
All right. So I'm going to go defender with my pick. And I'm thinking somebody very Rudiger-esque, right? There's no rules in this place. They play by their own rules. So I'm going to go Ohio.
All right. I need somebody to pair with Florida. there's really only one option here. Kind of more of I would say more of an attacking mid, so to speak, but can definitely defend if they need to. Pairs very well. I'm going to take Georgia.
Matt just rocking the South plus Alaska. I was gonna say your midfield should have been Floribama. I mean, that's just that writes itself.
Florida Georgia line.
Either way,
I got the SEC on lockdown.
Goalkeeper. I feel like I gotta stick on theme and on brand here and just pick a vanilla-esque Midwestern hardworking value state. I'm taking Wisconsin, baby.
There you go.
How did it fall here in the draft? No one will know.
Now you just won the
still at the
draft. You got
bar.
all the Milwaukee Blues coming at you here.
It was still at the bar. Missed the team bus.
All right, so I need somebody who pairs well with California in the midfield, but also, not the creative type, but stays home and does their own thing. I feel like Illinois does enough of that. So, Illinois, California midfield. So, just to run it all back here, our five-a-side of the U.S. states. We'll start with Matt with Alaska in goal, taking up the whole goal. Roll Tide, Alabama in defense, Florida, Georgia line in the midfield, and Missouri up front. Parker's got an alcoholic in goal with Wisconsin. Got the corn-fed defender in Iowa. New York and fundamentally sound Utah in the mid. And Shooter's going to shoot Michigan up top. Me, I've got the Department of Defense, Hawaii in goal. I've got Lawless, Ohio in my defense. Got wild card bitches California in midfield along with Illinois. And like Parker's, Shooter's going to shoot Texas up top. Make sure to vote on our highly offensive states five-a-side draft by checking us out on X at FlagDownPod. Oh boy, that was hard to say. X.
Do we have to?
It's either that or Threads. I hate Threads. Matt, you're our new social media manager.
Pass.
All right, boys. Well, that just about wraps it up here. Any closing thoughts?
2 weeks until we play Liverpool. The summer has gone by quick, and it feels like we're here. So I'm looking forward to season predictions next week, and some hot takes around what we think is going to go down. So this is a fun time of year, man. Looking forward to it.
Season's right around the corner.
All right. Well, before we sign off here, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on all social media. Again, we're at FlagDownPod in just about every social media imaginable, even if they change their name. And me, Andy, I'll be at the game on Wednesday in Chicago. So if you're there, come down to 219, say hi. But in the meantime, roll Tide, and let's look forward to that season preview.
Roll Tide.
I'm all potted out.